Baba Twala, thanks for joining me on this call. I hope you and your family are coping well with this pandemic. I must say, it is such an honor to work with you on this project to uplift the children of your township, Alexandria, South Africa, by teaching them how to swim. As the father of Alex, you've dedicated your life to helping both the young and the elderly. Before we talk about our project, I'd like to chat about your background and the charitable programs you're involved with. So let's start, if I may, Baba Twala, by asking what was it like to grow up in Alex? In particular, what influence did your parents and mentors have on your development?
If I may put it this way so that I don't waste time, when I grew up in Alex, we never had tarred roads, we never had flusher toilets, and my mother was a domestic worker. My father was so strict in as much as that the work that I do, I inherited it from my mother, who died at the age of 100. Whenever there were some people who were coming to my home to ask for food, my mother would be the first one to give them food. So that is why I'm saying I inherited the work that I do from my mother. Our main problem now is the previous government. We have inherited a sinking ship from the previous government. That is why today you still see shacks in our area. And if you want to save lives, I think the best route to take is to start with the youth because they are going to be in the leadership when we have passed on. Right now, as I'm talking to you, we took the baton from Mandela and we're running with it. So we're grooming these youngsters to take the baton from us and run with it. So it's another choice that they must make. But hopefully, I would say, by God's grace, I feel that we have some young chaps that are promising to be future leaders.
So how has your Center of Excellence, Putajichaba, helped the
Yes.
residents of Alex cope with these challenges?
It has helped so many people because during the night, we used to hold illegal meetings. But during the day, we used to give people food. But unfortunately, there were government informers who went to the government, I mean, to the police and to the soldiers to tell them that at Babatwala's place, this is what is happening in the evenings. That is when we were battling to get Mandela out of prison. And during the TRC, you'll remember Desmond Tutu, when my house was bombed by police because of my political involvement, he came with a word that said, go tell our comrades that there be no bloodshed in our country. And when I said I am going to forgive, but I'll never forget the past, that's when we hugged each other. Putati Chaba, right now, we are teaching children computers. We also have a reading club whereby those children that can't go to multiracial schools, we make sure that we teach them where we are so that we can close that gap so that as time goes on, they must not be called coconuts, those that had the privilege of going into white schools. Now, I'm saying this because if we don't do that, 10 years down the line, when we've passed on, there's going to be revolution in this country. But fortunately, I'm still alive, and we are making sure that we are closing that gap by making sure that we teach children at an early age, teaching them computers, teaching them how to run a center and how to behave, because these are our future leaders.
And finally, among all the things you do with the Alex Youth and everything you just listed, why do you feel that it's important to teach them to swim?
Really, what is important is that in our area, there are children that are buried or drowned, and most of the time, every year, blacks drown because they never had the privilege of uh, being taught how to swim. But having somebody like Lawrence today, I have a feeling that we just need a new swimming pool where we're going to make sure that we've got change rooms or whatever. So we want you to be our spokesperson, to be our ambassador in America, especially when it comes to swimming, when it comes to education, because we are not educated. We were taught by the oppressor's language, Afrikaans. And these children are still fortunate because they know how to express themselves in English. So swimming, if you want to save lives, please join me today, not tomorrow. And ask everybody there to please follow suit.
Yeah. So swimming has been one of my passions since I was 7 years old. So I'm excited about the opportunity to help the boys and girls of Alex realize the many benefits of learning to swim. Now I'd like to welcome Alex Ruele to the Zoom chat. Lawrence lives in Alex and is active in the Puta Dichaba Center.
Yes.
Hi, Lawrence. Let's
Hi,
start
Sasha. How
by
you doing?
yeah, hi. So let's start by having you tell us about your background in Alex.
Well, I was born and bred here. I was born 1989. Um, I've grown up around Alex. I left, to go and learn at certain places outside of Alex, but I would always return. And growing up here, you realize that there isn't much to do. There isn't much to learn, and this is why we constantly have to keep leaving Alex. And so it's always been, I don't know, it's always been within me that I want to help the community that I'm from, because I've always felt that I'm a little different and I shouldn't be. And that's, it's always been difficult. There's no way to explain it. You can literally, in one morning, you can wake up in the morning, see somebody being beaten up on the street, or somebody being robbed, or you can see a child being hit by a car. There's always people, like, for example, yesterday, we had 50 shacks that were burnt down, and a 1-year-old child died, and a 30-year-old. So there's always constant struggle here. However, then there's a light side where you get people who are a very close-knit community, where everybody knows each other's names, where if you've got a problem, you can knock on the person next to you's door. So it's a very complex and diverse and beautiful place. And I'm very happy to call it, and that's why I don't want to leave. And I want to rather fix it than just leave it and let it rot.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Why do you think it's important to teach the Alex kids to swim? And what other benefits do you think it'll bring to the township?
Well, other than the fact that it's an absolutely awesome way to keep yourself busy, because one of the biggest social concerns that we have here in Alex is kids not having anything to do, which is what then leads them to doing things like drugs. It leads them to, you get 4 and 5-year-old children that go around chasing cars and grabbing onto the back of them because it's a fun game, or they'll play in the street, or they'll play soccer in the street. There's all sorts of things. Now, swimming, not only one, teaches them a way to keep fit, but two, it takes away their fear. Fear is something that stops you from doing absolutely everything in life. And if you can crack that fear of getting into the water, it'll open up all sorts of avenues. There's certain jobs where you need to have swimming as a prerequisite. And but the biggest thing is the drownings. Now, here within Alex, there's a river that runs through. It's called the Jukske River. And recently we've had drownings, the most recent being 2018. And that, I feel, could have been avoided had that child been able to swim. And so that's the biggest reason. That's the main thing. And in order to stop things like that from happening again. However, the other thing is that swimming opens up channels for kids to travel to other schools, and it might open up other programs as well for them. So not only swimming, it can also boost their education.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And are there swimming pools in Alex? And if not, where do the kids swim? Is it safe?
There's one communal swimming pool run by the government. You can Google anything, just Google South African government, and you can see how our affairs down here are, which is absolutely appalling. The pool is never maintained. The staff that are there themselves can't swim. So even if somebody's cleaning the pool, they'll fall in, so they don't clean it properly. It's closed on certain days unnecessarily. It's only open within certain seasons. It's not heated. It doesn't have a cover. It's not properly salinated.
It's not enough.
It's just not enough for the number of people that are here in Alex. And that's the biggest problem. So where I teach kids is outside of Alex again. I have to take kids from Alex outside of Alex to go and teach them something. So I take them to an area called Hillbrow, my old school, which is where I teach kids how to swim.
As a starting point, Do you think that Alex kids would benefit from getting flotation devices, kickboards, and other equipment to keep them safe in the water?
Yes, definitely. Because although I can teach kids how to swim without flotation devices, which is I learned how to swim without that. I fell into somebody's swimming pool actually and just started swimming from there. Um, but with the flotation devices, one, it makes me look professional in terms of my swimming, so parents can let me teach their kids, because that's the biggest thing, the safety of the children. And two, it gives them the confidence to learn how to swim. There's just something magical about having, if you're on a boogie board and once you finally learn how to let go of the boogie board and learn how to swim, or if you're used to being on the pool noodle under your arms, and then now you can take it off and you learn how to swim. It's all about getting through that stage. And without the flotation devices, firstly, the swimming will take much, 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 much longer. But secondly, I don't have that nice incentive for kids to come and swim as well.
Mhm. And beyond equipment, what know-how can we bring to Alex that will help the kids learn to swim?
Well, one thing I could ask that I feel is definitely needed is training of other people other than myself. Now, although I'm a qualified scuba diver and I can swim really well, my dream is to take a few people from Alex, train them and get them into instructor level, which doesn't take that long here in South Africa. Teach them so that they can teach others, so that it's a rolling effect, so that it doesn't stop here. Once we can have 4 or 5 instructors, then the flow can carry on, because from the kids that we teach, they can then carry on and teach others, and that's how the snowball effect then takes over.
And finally, what options are there for us to either renovate existing pools or perhaps build a new one?
Okay, now in terms of renovating a government pool, that has a lot of red tape. I'm still investigating that. However, we've had a certain church community that's donated a piece of land or has said that should we be successful in procuring funding, they'll let us use that particular piece of land for swimming. So it's in a very safe area. It's not outside of Alex, it's within Alex. And to procure all the material and to get people hands on to building the swimming pool would be the most feasible way to do it, because one, um, there wouldn't be any government hands on it. That's my biggest thing. I cannot stress enough how this project has to be done without the government involved. And
We should not politicize.
yeah, it shouldn't be no politics whatsoever, because that's the biggest problem. That's what causes problems like we have currently with the current swimming pool. They don't know how to manage it. They haven't taken time, they haven't investigated, they haven't done anything. And the issue is with the swimming pool, it's not just about having fun and swimming, it's people's lives. Drowning is a reality. And again, it happened in Alex in 2018, but it happened recently in El Dorado Park and Klipfontein, which is about 30 kilometers from here. It happened on Friday where 2 kids drowned. So it's a reality. And with now, as we speak, we don't have electricity and it's raining. So we can only imagine what's going to happen tomorrow when the kids go out and play. But that was the question that you asked recently, where they play. They play by the river. And that's why they get taken by the water. And this is why we have all these issues.
Yeah. So that concludes today's interview. And I'd like to thank both of you, both Baba Twala and Lawrence Ruele, for their time, energy, and extraordinary commitment toward improving the livelihood of the Alex community.